We do want to bring in retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton. He has 34 years of experience with the U.S. military, leading thousands of men and women through times of crisis. General Newton, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, Nicole. It's good to be with you.
Well, we know you were on Prime 1 week ago when we were also concerned Russia was on the verge of invading Ukraine. General, tell us what has changed tonight.
Well, what has changed is the president has addressed the nation, actually addressed around the world on Wednesday and then today. He's been very articulate, I believe, and clear in terms of the threat that Putin has positioned what is now the largest assembly of Russian troops since World War II, if you think in terms of a historical standpoint. But the challenge here is that all indications are that he's poised for attack. As the president said earlier earlier this afternoon, rather, is that, again, he can't get in his mind and really, get into his brain, if you will, but all indications are that he's poised for attack. There's also, since we last talked last week, there's been some cyber attacks on the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense and on some of the banks and so forth. And so, again, we've added more troops to the Russian troops to the Ukrainian border and so forth. So it's a very dicey situation. And I believe we're on the cusp of attack. I'm still not sure in my mind that he will attack, but nonetheless, all indications are that he's very poised and ready to do just that.
Exactly, which is certainly, what we heard from the president today. So General, you mentioned the fact that he said this to the nation. He obviously announced this on national TV. Based on your experience, what does that tell you about what the president knows?
Well, the president has exquisite intelligence, and he's got intelligence, again, at his fingertips that he's updated hour by hour, if not sometimes minute by minute. So he's dealing with as informed as he possibly can from U.S. and allied friends' intelligence sources. Secondly, again, he is observing along with his national security advisors and as well as our leaders, military leaders in Europe, the movement of these troops. Specifically, as well as he's watching for other indications as perhaps the Russian troops move out of an administrative assembly area into another assembly area, which would be indicating that they're going to load up and start to fuel some of their weapon systems and so forth. And so these are indications that he will be briefed on, that he'll be watching hour by hour to anticipate whether or not Putin will indeed attack. The other aspect, however, there's the diplomatic side as well. The Munich Security Conference, where Vice President Harris will be attending tomorrow, and other NATO leaders. That's very important also that again, we, as the leader of NATO, we show, and the rest of NATO, as well as our European allies, show that unity that the president talked about. He shows the resolve and so forth, and the determination. And so that is as important on the diplomatic side to present to Putin and the rest of the world, frankly, that the United States is going to stand strong and tall in support of the Ukrainian people, as well as other free societies in Europe and around the world.
Well, General, the president today said that he does believe Putin has made his decision, meaning an attack will happen. Mm-hmm. Is it unusual for an American president to be so direct when two other nations are on the brink of war?
Nicole, I was thinking the same thing. That to me was a very unique comment that he made. In fact, he mentioned it twice in the press conference. He said two things: that I believe that Putin has made the decision to attack, but he also gave himself a little bit of an aside there that he says, I can't get in the brain of Putin, but nonetheless, all indications are that he will attack. That surprised me a little bit, frankly. Again, let's go back just a few months or so ago of the debacle of the withdrawal we had in Afghanistan. And that was one that not only, again, I believe the administration and we brought upon ourselves, but also was entangled some disunity in our NATO allies who are also trying to withdraw in a more, in a unified way out of Afghanistan. And again, we know the results of that. So I think the president, by announcing that he believes that Putin will attack, is trying to control the narrative more so than what we saw back in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And again, he is trying to get ahead of the game as best he can. Should Putin attack, he will have warned the American people, and he will have certainly made his statement that Putin is going to attack, in his view, at least as of today. But also 2 or 3 weeks from now, in the event that Putin does not attack, again, the president will have controlled the narrative and been able to, rally as much diplomatic support as he possibly can to thwart that attack. But right now, again, I was a little bit caught off guard by that. But again, I believe it's our president trying to control the narrative much more so than we've seen in the past, certainly back in Afghanistan.
You know, and General, we have been talking about this possible invasion for several weeks now, if not months. You know, we thought maybe it would happen Wednesday of this week, but things seem to have potentially reached a crescendo. You know, last week you thought maybe Putin was bluffing, but at this point it sounds like maybe you've changed your mind as well.
Well, again, and I said on the show last Friday night, you know, my brain says he is absolutely poised, positioned, and all indications are that he's going to attack. My gut still tells me, Nicole, that I don't think he's going to attack. And for a couple reasons. Number one is step by step, Putin is gaining ground. He's gaining ground by being able to be on the world stage. Again, he is setting the conditions for, again, forcing the West, in this case, the U.S.-led West effort and NATO and Europe to respond to all of his moves. So that in and of itself, from a geopolitical standpoint, is I think one of his aims. Another aim is obviously for him to, again, compel Ukraine not to even think twice about ever joining NATO and leaning towards Europe, or certainly NATO and the European Union. Putin understands two things. One, he definitely understands and responds to power, but he's also very wary of democracy. And so in his calculus, his 22 years as leading Russia, is he's trying to bring Russia back to the old Soviet Union style, the old world order of Russia prior to the Berlin Wall coming down and so forth. And one of the ways he wants to do that is he wants to bring Belarus, as he's done, under his control. Crimea, remember, he's already attacked Ukraine and annexed Crimea. So this is out of his playbook, both in terms of today, but also in depth over the last 2 decades of his dictatorship there in Russia, frankly. So it shouldn't surprise us, but at the same time, there is a sense of brinkmanship going on here between President Biden and Putin, as we allude back to the previous discussion regarding the president thinking that Putin is poised to attack. So there's a lot of strategic calculus going on here, and we better be prepared. But again, to sum up that point, I still believe, and I could be wrong, I've been wrong before, but I don't believe Putin will attack. But I won't be surprised if he does.
Well, like you said, something out of his playbook. Obviously, we've talked to Ukrainians, we've talked to Americans in Ukraine. They certainly, have expressed that same sentiment. Retired Lieutenant General Richard Newton, we appreciate your expertise. So much so, we are going to check back in with you later on in the show. So please stick around, and thank you.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.